Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, and air restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit BillHowe.com. And by the Conrad Trebas Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
There were fewer in-custody deaths reported in San Diego County in 2024 than in 2023, but advocates say that number should be higher. Thanks for joining us. I'm John Carroll in for Maya Trabulsi. Advocates say the San Diego County Sheriff's Office is underreporting jail deaths. KPBS reporter Katie Hyson spoke with them about their claim.
The San Diego County Sheriff's Office report deaths that happen in their custody. A death reported yesterday brought their number for this year to 9. But advocates like Yusef Miller argue that number should be 10.
With Mr. Tyne, he goes unreported, and we didn't know unless we already had an inside scoop. Now, how many other people that we didn't have an inside scoop died this year, we have no idea.
The San Diego Union Tribune reported Eric Van Tyne was allegedly beaten unconscious by a cellmate in 2023. Van Tyne suffered a brain injury and then died last month. Since the sheriff's office had released him from custody for medical treatment, they didn't include him in their reported deaths. Legally, they don't have to, but Miller says they should.
So we can have a true picture of what we're facing. And only with this kind of transparency will we have a real solution that we can develop.
The sheriff's office is still investigating Van Tyne's death and says they can't comment. Katie Hyson, KPBS News.
In January, the city of San Diego will begin building a coastal barrier fence atop some seaside cliffs in Ocean Beach. KPBS Sci-Tech reporter Thomas Fudge says it's the latest attempt to adapt to a receding coastline.
Sunset Cliffs is a favorite place for locals and tourists to see the wild ocean crash against the shore, but the edge of those cliffs is moving inland and getting more dangerous. What you can see right behind me used to be a parking lot. In fact, you can still see the asphalt there, but the ocean erosion has been so powerful in the way it's chipped away at the cliff, you wouldn't want to stand out there, to say nothing of trying to park your car.
Mother Nature continues to take her toll on the bluffs and the cliffs here in the area, so we need to keep up and make sure that we're keeping public safety in mind.
That's why the city has set up caution tape and plans to install a permanent fence along the top of the cliff to prevent people from getting too close. New fences won't be something you can't climb over. Jose Isaiah says it won't be much different from the coastal fences we're familiar with.
It's really not a matter of building a big brick wall. It's just to remind people that they cannot cross from that line onto the other side of the bluff because of the potential danger.
That's why Isaiah calls the whole business of securing the cliff a work in progress that follows the progress of coastal erosion. The danger of crumbling coastal cliffs is very real. A family in Encinitas lost a mother and a daughter after a cliff collapsed in 2019, killing the people on the beach below. The family sued Encinitas and the state of California and collected a $30 million settlement. People spending some free time at Sunset Cliffs were supportive of the city's effort to make the cliffs safer.
I think it's a beautiful section of the coast, and as long as we can get up and look at it and appreciate it, I don't see any harm if they put up barriers to keep us safer.
You're starting to see higher tides, probably a result of climate change, and I think as our nature and our climate changes, you're going to have to take measures to protect people with a balanced approach that also allows us to have access to nature and our beautiful beaches in California.
City workers will begin installing a permanent barrier next month along about 200 yards of bluff line near Sunset Cliffs Boulevard in Ocean Beach. Thomas Fudge, KPBS News.
Well, we've had a quasi-like Santa Ana event really winds pushing out of the north that has increased that fire weather danger. Now tonight here, San Diego County, you're down to 46, mainly clear, though we are tracking a warming trend and we still have some breezy conditions here as we head into tomorrow, the start of 2025. We'll break it all down for you coming up.
Drivers may want to check their car insurance coverage as we head into the new year because minimum coverages are increasing. Starting tomorrow, the minimum car insurance coverage for California drivers is doubling. Insurance will need to cover $30,000 for injury or death to one person, $60,000 for more than one person, and $15,000 for damage to property. Gianella Gigalino is with the Auto Club of Southern California.
It's very important for people to reach out to their insurance company to really make those adjustments because insurance prices really they vary by person. So it depends on your own driving record, on your vehicle. So you really do have to make that initiative to reach out just to make sure that, your insurance is up to date as well.
She says the liability increases are likely tied to the rising costs of auto repairs, medical treatments, and accident expenses. Insurance carriers may have already adjusted the coverage that goes into effect on January 1st. Earlier this month, California launched a program offering vouchers for electric bikes. KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen says the vouchers were exhausted in a matter of minutes.
The program run by the state's Air Resources Board offers up to $2,000 off the cost of an electric bike. The goal is to help California reduce car travel and greenhouse gas emissions. But the initial batch of 1,500 vouchers was dwarfed by an avalanche of applicants. On a cycling forum on Reddit, users complained about not being able to join the queue or finish the lengthy application, explained in this video.
You will also need to provide a list of household members, including spouses, registered domestic partners, and any dependents or guardians, as well as income documentation to verify total household income.
The Air Resources Board told KPBS, quote, "The first round of the launch points to an incredible demand for alternative forms of transportation and a willingness to use cleaner mobility options. We will be doing future rounds of vouchers, and next steps on that will be informed by the lessons learned from this first round." Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
Norovirus, the highly contagious stomach flu, spiked in early December with 91 outbreaks reported nationwide. That's according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. KPBS health reporter Heidi DeMarco says health experts are urging extra precautions, especially during holiday gatherings.
Norovirus is the leading cause of foodborne illness in the United States. It's responsible for more than half of all food-related infections annually. In San Diego County alone, there have been 385 outbreaks linked to norovirus this year. Dr. William Seng, Assistant Chief of Staff at Kaiser Permanente, explains just how quickly the virus can spread.
So it can be spread through feces, through touching, through contact surfaces, through contaminated foods.
The virus is resilient. It can survive heat, freezing temperatures, and dryness, which means it can remain on surfaces for days.
Once you get contaminated, it takes about 1 to 2 days to get into your system. And then for 3 days afterwards, you get really bad runs of diarrhea, nausea, vomiting, stomach aches.
He says bleach or hydrogen peroxide products work well to clean surfaces, but alcohol-based hand sanitizers don't work.
They're not as effective as hand washing alone. So hand washing with soap and lather and rinse 20 seconds, that's more effective than any alcohol.
He says while anyone can catch the virus, young children, the elderly, and those with weakened immune systems are at higher risk. The virus often spreads in confined spaces, like cruise ships, schools, and nursing homes.
And remember, this is not like the flu or COVID where it's primarily contacted through cough and airborne. This is more direct contact.
If you do become ill, Dr. Sang says, there isn't much you can do but stay hydrated. And you should see a doctor if you're unable to keep fluids down.
That's when you get into trouble, and that's where you need IV care and supportive care to really make sure that we help you through this time, but the body takes care of most of it.
Heidi DeMarco, KPBS News.
I'm Nick Schifrin. Tonight on the NewsHour, the South Korean airport that was the site of a horrific deadly crash comes under scrutiny. Coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
The stage is set, the ball is prepped, and people around the world are ready to ring in 2025. Some already are at this point. Hundreds of thousands of people will pack into Times Square in the heart of New York City to celebrate the new year. As Lee Waldman reports, despite some expected rain, the excitement is palpable.
Times Square is shaking with excitement for 2025.
Hey everybody, Happy New Year from Times Square.
From all corners of the world, people are taking in the bright lights, the stage, and the crystal LED illuminated ball ahead of the New Year's celebration.
It's really cool because you get to see the ball in person, and you get to see kind of what everybody else gets to see if they live here instead of just on TV.
It's very cool to see in person. It's very exciting, very busy.
Some of the people are choosing to get their looks in a day early and then avoid the crowds altogether on New Year's Eve.
Very chaotic.
Yeah.
Lots of crowds, lots of people.
The New York Police Department is utilizing all of its resources to ensure a safe celebration for all, including K-9 teams, horseback units, helicopters, boats, and drones.
At this time, there are no specific credible threats to the Times Square New Year's Eve celebration. However, we have been operating in a heightened threat environment since October 7th, and we remain vigilant.
As we say goodbye to 2024, people are looking to 2025 with hope and optimism for the year to come.
I want to have a great year and be positive all the time.
I'm just looking forward to a bunch of experiences that I'll probably have in 2025.
Happy New Year! In Times Square, I'm Lee Waldman reporting.
As we inch closer to midnight, many may be vowing to do something different in 2025. Whether you're resolving to be healthier, happier, or have a specific goal in mind, staying motivated to achieve those goals can be hard. Mandy Gaither has more with a psychologist on how to make your New Year's resolutions stick.
A new you in the new year. But if you keep making the same resolutions without results, you're not alone.
Research indicates that year after year, people tend to set the same exact goal. And this really shows that there is a gap between what we want and what we do.
Psychologist Susan Albers with Cleveland Clinic says there are simple ways to set yourself up for success in 2025. When setting resolutions, be specific and realistic. Instead of saying be more active, set a goal of working out a certain number of days a week for a specific amount of time. Next, she says to try habit stacking. Pairing two habits together can help keep those behaviors going.
So, for example, if you drink your cup of coffee every morning and routinely, and you want to start getting moving and exercising, that very next behavior after you have your cup of coffee, maybe go for a walk, do some stretches, do some yoga.
Albert says to also focus on process goals, not outcome goals. For instance, aim to eat a serving of veggies with each meal rather than to lose 20 pounds. And practice self-compassion. She says it'll help you bounce back from setbacks. And get support. Sharing goals with others can help you reach them. Finally, stay on top of your progress.
When we write down what we are working on, research indicates that this significantly helps us to keep on track.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
At the beginning of the year, it seemed like the presidential race would be a repeat of 2020, Biden versus Trump. But as we entered summer, the election took many twists and turns, culminating in a victory for now President-elect Donald Trump. Our Washington correspondent, Julia Benbrook, details the surprises this year in politics brought us.
It was supposed to be a rematch. Joe Biden, the incumbent, leading Democrats, and Donald Trump, a former president, breaking records with huge primary wins against his Republican challengers. Trump split time between the trail and the courtroom amid a flurry of legal troubles, both civil and criminal. A New York jury found him guilty of 34 counts of falsifying business records, making him the first former president convicted of a felony.
The real verdict is going to be
November 5th by the people.
Later in the year, Biden's son Hunter became the first child of a sitting president convicted of felony crimes. Meanwhile, the president, the oldest in American history, faced questions about his ability to serve another term. When the two candidates went head-to-head on the debate stage, Biden's alarming performance led to increased calls for him to drop out of the race.
Dealing with everything we have to do with, look.
Two assassination attempts against Trump shook the campaign trail. The first at a rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. He appeared at the Republican National Convention just a few days later with his running mate, Ohio Senator J.D. Vance, and made a short-lived promise to tone down the rhetoric on the trail.
We rise together or we fall apart.
With just about 100 days left, Biden dropped out of the race, and despite calls from some for an abbreviated primary, the party ultimately rallied behind Vice President Kamala Harris. She became the first black woman and first Asian American to lead a major party ticket.
I accept your nomination to be President of the United States of America.
She then selected Minnesota Governor Tim Walz as her running mate. Democrats saw a huge surge in fundraising numbers and endorsements. Independent candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr., whom both sides saw as a potential spoiler, dropped out of the race and endorsed the Republican candidate. Former President Jimmy Carter turned 100 right before he cast his ballot for Harris. Polls predicted a tight race, but Trump landed a decisive electoral victory, carrying all 7 battleground states and the popular vote. Harris conceded.
We must accept the results of this election.
And Biden hosted his predecessor and now successor at the White House.
Welcome. Thank you.
Republicans won a trifecta. Mike Johnson is expected to serve as House Speaker and John Thune as Senate Majority Leader. After Mitch McConnell, the longest-serving leader in the chamber's history, announced he would not seek that role again. In a stunning reversal, Biden issued a full and unconditional pardon for his son after the election. Trump will be sworn in as the 47th president of the United States on January 20th. In Washington, I'm Julia Benbrook reporting.
A lot has been happening this week. We've had a quasi-Santa Ana-esque lake pattern where we've had winds mostly coming out of the north, not making it a true Santa Ana event, but enough gusty conditions to increase that fire weather threat across parts of Southern California. Now, we do have this warming trend through Thursday, so temperatures are on the rise, and really where we are anticipating that those gustier conditions. The fire weather threat sticks with us through Wednesday, but it does start to lessen, and it's not going to be for everywhere here across Southern California. We do return to an onshore flow later this week. That's going to cool things down, also increase the showery activity, though we don't hang on to it for too long. That warmth builds again by next week. Tonight, what are we looking at here? San Diego, you're down to 46, Oceanside 41. Ramona, you're at 34 here tonight into early tomorrow. A little bit of a cooler start to the new year. Borrego Springs at 40, though we do still have those Santa Ana winds, mostly centered here north of LA. That fire weather threat is going to be mostly that threat here, mostly north of LA, Burbank, Santa Clarita, Santa Maria. Those gusts anywhere between 20 to 40 miles per hour. Dangerous crosswinds as well, with your accurate local storm max as high as 60 miles per hour. Here across Southern California, Oceanside, you're at 64 here. Tomorrow, you'll top off at 66 in San Diego. A bright start to 2025. Borrego Springs, you're at 71. Mount Laguna, you'll top off at 53. Let's take you here along the coast, break down the temperatures here day by day. I told you we're warming at least through the start of the weekend. Then we'll take a little bit of a hit. Saturday, you're down to 63 along the coast, but back up to 66 by Sunday when that next warming trend starts. Inland, you'll rise to almost 80 Thursday. Woo, a little bit of a warm start to 2025. Friday, you're at 74. Temps drop back down to the 60s, but they're on the rise again by the end of the weekend. For the mountains, you'll stay in the 50s here throughout the rest of the week. By the weekend, we're down to the 40s, so it is going to be quite chilly, but back up to 54 by Sunday. For the deserts, well, you're not necessarily going to feel too many temperature changes. Overall, pleasant for the first few days of 2025. For KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Bree Guy.
The city of San Diego is activating its inclement weather shelters program tonight. You can see there the locations on your screen. Father Joe's Village's Joan Kroc Center, Paul Mirabile Center on Imperial Avenue, and the Living Water Church of the Nazarene on Market Street. The shelters will remain open through tomorrow morning. For most people, it can feel like the worst moment in time when a beloved pet is lost. But a local animal recovery specialist wants people to know that while their pet is lost, hope is not. KPBS's Maya Trabulsi explains why, when a pet is lost, you call Babs.
Hi, you've reached Babs Fry with a Way Home for Dogs. Sorry I missed your call. I am on the other line or in the field assisting another pet.
I'm best known for Call Babs. You know, when somebody says, I've lost a pet, everybody says, call Babs.
She is Babs Fry, pet recovery specialist.
A lot of people like to call me pet detective, but that's Ace Ventura, and that is not me.
While a pet detective, she is not. To many, she is an unsung hero.
Ultimately, what I do is I help people recover their lost pets, and as a byproduct of that, also support the community and animal control agencies in capturing dogs at large that nobody can recover.
And she says to catch a dog at large is nothing like the old cartoons of chasing it down with a net.
You know, you've got to collaborate sightings, you've got to track common behaviors, patterns. You know, I have cellular cameras I put in the field. I solicit the support of private parties to let me put traps on their property.
Recovering dogs for more than 10 years, she facilitates multiple reunions per week.
Thank you so much for all your help.
Thank you guys for trying. And like a recipe, she says the ingredients, aka her instructions, are specifically selected for each individual situation.
I mean, my phone rings 24/7 and they're not short phone calls, so I won't keep answering. This is Babs.
Like this call she got during our interview.
We've been driving around for over 3 hours looking for her.
I need to let you know that the very first thing I'm going to do is tell you what you don't want to hear, but you need to stop looking for that dog. And that's very, very, very important.
She cuts through the emotion with the sole purpose of setting up a successful recovery plan.
Okay, so in the meantime, take one of your dirty socks, turn it inside out, and get it in a tree in front of your house. Okay?
Okay.
It's all about identifying odors. The higher the personal item is placed, the more the wind will carry the scent, like an isolated GPS marker.
You can take poop from one of the dogs that she gets most excited to see and smear that on a tree.
And while she does her best to reassure desperate callers,
that dog will not starve. The minute she left your care, she went to raw instinctual responses.
18 days in the canyons of Del Mar. They make it, guys. They survive.
She says she's not known for her people skills.
You either love or you hate me. I'm not here to make you feel better, and I'm not emotionless. I cry a lot about these dogs.
She strives instead to be effective by educating people about their mistakes.
I really would be okay to not have to interact with people. I do this for the dogs.
Thank you.
And dogs are her world. While catching them is what she is known for, she also runs a rescue that is almost 3 times beyond its capacity.
And rescues, shelters here are beyond capacity, doesn't begin to describe it. And I think that's a direct result of a lot of things. I think COVID started it. It provided people an opportunity to get dogs when they wouldn't have otherwise.
She says she's catching more dogs now that know commands like sit and stay.
I have a lot of dogs in my rescue that I thoroughly believe had owners who truly cared for and loved them, but didn't know what to do and thought they were just going to find a new home for cutting them loose.
Her home in Hamul has been transformed into a crate-based kennel.
The never-ending laundry.
The would-be living room is lined with crates where the dogs thrive on consistency and routine. These dogs are the lucky ones. They have the option to live out their days here. But she says not all dogs can or should be saved.
Sometimes euthanasia is okay. I'll be straight up.
She says euthanasia is a topic that needs to be revisited, not for space-saving reasons, but as a humane alternative for unmanageable situations.
You know, in the trapping world, with me and strays, do you know how many times I've had to drink my own poison as I say it? But sometimes dying humane euthanasia is a better alternative than getting hit by a car and sitting on the side of the road, suffering of a broken back in a bush until you die.
While her first priority is the dogs in her care, catching dogs will always be her gift.
So down at the bottom of the hill, this is where Babs keeps her traps. They come in various sizes, and they are humane traps. She sets them with some food, a couple of cameras, and then the waiting game begins.
Her kennel is funded through donations, and she provides her dog recovery service completely free of charge. Still, she wishes those that use her experience would donate more often than they do.
Of the 6 dogs in the last 2 weeks that I have been directly involved in helping reunite, 1 has made a donation.
At least, she says, a donation toward the rotisserie chicken she uses in her traps and the cost of gas would make a difference, as she offers her priceless expertise in what she calls a dance.
And I'm the dance instructor. And until the dog starts dancing, we don't know which way we're going. And there are a lot of dogs out there that are going to go from the waltz to the tango.
Whichever dance the dog chooses, Babs never promises it will be caught. But by managing people to not get in their own way, she can set her sights and traps on the hope of a successful outcome.
You don't quit, you don't give up.
Right here.
Trust the process.
So that was our wonderful Maya Trabulsi with that report, the person who normally sits in this chair. Animal shelters are in crisis across San Diego County. In a special evening edition, we take a deeper look at why shelters are overcrowded, what's being done about it, and how every one of us can help. From resources to help pet owners to volunteer opportunities and adoption, we're highlighting solutions. So please join us tomorrow on KPBS Evening Edition at 5 and 6:30. Please donate to Babs. Please adopt dogs and cats. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks so much for joining us, everyone. I'm John Carroll. Have a great evening. And from all of us here at KPBS, thanks for your support of what we do. And Happy New Year.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, and air restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following: and by viewers like you. Thank you.